in life are always worth taking. Love and money is always worth making. Just grab on and hold on tight. You're in for the ride of your life.
Welcome back to the Beyond the Arc podcast. Dallas once again joined by Levi. Levi, as always, how's it going?
Doing well, sir. Hope you're doing great.
Absolutely. I am currently in the midst of a tense bidding war over a Kevin Durant game worn piece of jersey. So if I happen to get sidetracked during the show, that is what I am doing at the moment. But I guess you ready to get started?
Hey, I'm here for it, brother. Let's just skip the Florida game now.
I was
don't.
going to say for the Florida,
I got nothing to say. I
have one thing to say: burn the tape, and after it's burnt, take the ashes, burn it again, and then just throw them wherever you may be. So with that being said, let's start off with Texas. I thought, Levi, that the Darlin Stone Dubar and Felix Okpara were co-MVPs of that game for me. What are your first initial takes?
Dubar. I believe both of us have stated many times that this team, in order to get where we believe that they can be, we've said that Dubar needs to take a step, and he finally did. And a lot of the guys were in their heads, I believe, after the Florida game, scared to shoot.
Agreed.
But Dubar, he came out, he was not scared whatsoever. And then that putback he had, man, like, oh my goodness, like I stood up out my chair. I hadn't stood up like that maybe in DK maybe stand up a couple times last year, but
Pause.
that Dubar put okay. Jesus Christ. But no, the Dubar putback was nice, but no, D Stone had a coming out party. I think he's found his role. I feel like he can be a guy on Torvik here. He has a plus 25.2 box plus minus. So if that tells you the impact he had on the game, he played incredible. 17 minutes, 12 points, 3 for 5 from 3. So you can't be mad about anything you saw from him. I'm still disappointed in Lanier because he continues to just not shoot the ball, and Igor's got to shoot the ball, man. There were 4 or 5 times I counted it during that game to where, how do you not shoot that shot? We would pass up that shot, and then we'd run our offense, end up having to take a contested shot when we had a wide open 3. Just shoot the ball. I watched the Lady Vols, and those girls ain't scared to shoot. I would like for our guys to not be scared to shoot. That's one of my main takeaways. Everybody was in their head except for Dubar the other night. Well, Ziegler as well, but Ziegler ain't ever going to stop shooting, so I'm good with him. But the other guys, they got to figure it out. They got to figure out what's going on.
I agree, and I've always been the proponent of that the best shot is not always the first open shot. However, when there is no one within 15 feet, and you could probably sit there and read the Knoxville News Sentinel, you need to go ahead and shoot the ball, Igor. And Jemai, too. I mean, Jemai, I know he's dealing with a hand injury, but still, we need those attempts just to keep the defense honest. He did shoot a 3 a few times in the game, I do believe. But you mentioned Lanier, and he was next up on my notes. Personally, I'm not worried about Lanier. I feel like Connect during his year at Tennessee, he had him stretch where he struggled. Obviously, he was coming off the ankle injury against North Carolina, and he may not have trusted the ankle that much. But I feel like this is not uncharted territory for Rick Barnes, obviously being around as long as he is, to have a player who is a little gun shy to shoot the ball and maybe has lost a little bit of confidence. So I'm not personally worried about Lanier at the moment. On a scale of 1 to 10, how worried are you, Levi?
I'm not worried. He does need to do it. So early in the year, I've been kind of reviewing film a little bit, and I know that's kind of a strange way to put it. But early in the year, he was doing his work very early and coming off the screens heavily. And I think he's, in his mind, maybe gotten a little relaxed because the last couple games, he's not really been doing his work early. And
it also,
I even
not to cut you off, but it also it also feels like teams are hedging that a lot more, and they're not giving him an opening off the screen. So maybe he's got to adjust to that just a little bit.
Absolutely, yeah. And then that's 100% correct. I was watching the Baylor film because he was just so open often against Baylor. Baylor Baylor kind of played a drop coverage. So anytime he would come off a screen, their big was not hedging all the way out. They basically weren't switching it. They were just the big would just kind of sink. So he was just able to come out, get a nice open three. But against Florida, especially, Florida did not allow him to get comfortable. But I was listening to Rick Barnes speak, and Rick was stating that basically he's getting too choppy with his feet right now, and he's got to stop getting too happy feet. He needs to get back down to the basics of, chopping his feet quickly, not, I think Rick Barnes said galloping, which is kind of funny, but it's Rick Barnes, so you never know what you're going to get. But the quote of him saying we ran a play for him and he didn't shoot it when it was open. So I sat him down because he's paid to shoot, and he's not going to.
And
He's
that was
not
the
going to
first
shoot
play
when
after halftime too.
absolutely, yeah. He sat him. He even said it. He was like, it was. I sat him down immediately after halftime. First play, I drew up a play. He was supposed to shoot. He didn't shoot. I sat him down and I straight up told him, you're getting paid to shoot. So if you're not going to shoot, you're going to sit over here and get paid to do that. So that's just Rick Barnes, but he's got to get back to doing just the simple things, and I think he will. We got a nice little stretch coming up here. We had a tough stretch, regardless of what everybody says. Everybody wants to talk about Auburn being, just this team that's just incredible and above and beyond. They played Texas the same night that we played Florida. We looked awful. I admit that. But also they beat Texas at Texas by 5. We just went to Texas and won by 4, and nobody's saying like, "Oh, those are similar wins." So I don't think this team is broken or not good or anything. Like everybody's dropped us so far. I mean, we've went from a 1 seed to a 2 seed and all this stuff. We had an anomaly game, and it happens. That game's as bad as I've ever seen any offense. Maybe I could even say Conzo Martin's teams had a better offense than that. So I don't penalize Tennessee for the Florida loss, but I also am not going to say like, oh well, that's nothing. We don't need to think about it. But also, there's no possible way that Tennessee is going to play that bad ever again this season. So, and I also think Lanier's going to be fine. The team's going to be fine. I think Dubar's going to start coming around. We're going to get a nice rotation going with Dubar being a part of it. So I'm pretty content at the moment with this team. I think they have a nice little run here that they're going to go on, and I think that Florida forgot they have to play us at home. So I'm not sure they really know what they're going to walk into when they come to Thompson Bowling.
Absolutely. And I mean, Tennessee lost to South Carolina at home last year. That's the loss at Florida is nowhere near as bad as losing to South Carolina at home. I mean, I thought towards the end of the Texas game, going back to the Texas game, that we found what worked really against Texas. Barnes, credit to him. We spread out the floor, and Zakai gave him the complete right side of the floor. Sometimes it was the left side of the floor on the wing there, almost free throw line extended, and he would just probe in and find an opening shooter, kick it. They would drive back in. We were just spreading them out and making them defend the whole entire floor, which I think Tennessee needs to do more of. And I thought that that's how Tennessee kind of took the lead there towards the end of the Texas game. Before we move on to Georgia, though, I do just want to shout out Trey Johnson from Texas. I think he's possibly the best freshman in the SEC. And we'll be facing another one on Wednesday night, which we'll get to in a moment. But Levi, do you agree with Trey Johnson being one of the best freshmen in the SEC, if not the best?
I think I will take Trey as the best at this point. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think he is the best. The Georgia guy can play. He makes me nervous, so I'll say that as well. But I'm perfectly content with at this point in the season saying that Trey Johnson is the best freshman in the SEC. Maybe, I mean, I think he's a top 5 guy in the country. He's behind our boy Yaku Koinis, but he's up there.
They make a case. I mean, there's Flag, there's Yaku Pointus, and I don't know, Ace Bailey, Dylan Harper, and that 5th spot I think is as wide open as can be. But yeah, moving on to Georgia, we may be facing the 5th most talented freshman in my opinion, Asa Newell. He doesn't shoot much from 3, which is probably a positive for Tennessee because Tennessee does a lot better against bigs that are more traditional and don't really shoot great from 3. Newell is shooting about 16% from three on the road, which, is, like I said, is a positive for Tennessee. Levi, what are your initial thoughts on Georgia?
Overall, a pretty solid team. I mean, beating Kentucky was a very nice step for them. They're a strange team, though, in my opinion. They don't really have a great offense, in my opinion. I don't get like, I don't know. It's Mike White. It's a Mike White coach
Yes.
team, so they're gonna kind of be like us in a way. They're gonna play hard nosed defense. They're gonna rebound. They're gonna defend, but their offense is just flat out like sometimes it's just so stagnant. And I think that our defense can really put them in a really bad position. But the fact this is an 8 p.m. tip game, I'm not very excited for. I was talking to my mom earlier, and she was saying we should probably leave by 9:30. So I don't know how long I'll be able to sit and watch this one. But an 8 p.m. tip off game, like there's no reason for that in SEC play, in my opinion.
I
But
agree.
to get back to the game, I think Georgia is a very solid team. I just I can't doubt Tennessee on the home court. We seem to shoot the ball better. We seem to like just the flow's better, the rhythm's better, the chemistry's better, which isn't great, going towards March, but I don't really have a whole lot to say against about Georgia because I've only seen a couple of their games this year. And as I stated, it's a Mike White coached basketball team. I That's about all you can say. Anybody that knows Mike White knows that his teams are pretty boring overall. They don't shoot the first shot. They play very boring basketball. I've also ref some of the Blue Cane games, so I know him pretty well. But he's kind of annoying as well.
Yeah, I was about to
So
mention him. It seems like he against Tennessee he finds a second gear. He did last year. I remember when we was down there at Georgia, he almost beat us. Thank goodness Connect was there to save the day. On the season, he's averaging 8.3 points and 36% from the field. So I'm sure that he won't go off against us Wednesday night. I mean, we just know that's not going to happen. But there's also on that team Silas DeMurray Jr., who at once was looking like he was going to be coming to Tennessee. Something happened there at the last minute. Went to Georgia. He's pretty talented himself. 11.9 points per game, 4.4 rebounds, 3 assists, 42% from the field, 11% from three from when they're playing away. So I'm not so sure what's going on there with Georgia and their away 3-point shooting. Maybe the goals are a little bit lower there in Athens. But yeah,
don't ever go to that. Don't ever go to that
I don't
arena.
I, I don't plan on it.
It's another house of horrors for Tennessee. I
Don't
would
plan
also
on
like
it
to
at
say
all.
they have Somto Cyril, which we recruited as well.
Yes, he
So
was a Nashville kid, wasn't
Chattanooga, I
he?
believe.
Chattanooga,
But
yeah.
yeah, they have a lot of guys that we either have recruited or have, been linked to on their rosters. So I'm sure someone will be fired up. I just think it's hilarious that if you look at this the Torvik page here, they play a lot of guys, and I guess since we're hurt and don't have Cam Carr anymore, that we just really don't play people. It's kind of funny to look at this point, Dallas. The box here is it just looks like, oh, Tennessee's got basically 7 guys they play, and everybody else doesn't really do much. It's interesting. I would like to ask you a question real quick. How do you feel about our depth? Do you think it's going to hurt us in the long run, or do you think it'll end up being okay? Because most teams that win national titles don't really play a whole lot of guys. So I'm just wondering what you think about like how our depth is looking, and we have so many guys playing such heavy minutes.
Obviously, I mean, injury is something that you hope does not happen. I feel like that's almost, you can say that for almost any team in the country that has hopes for a national championship. The post depth is really about the only place that personally I'm worried about. I mean, you have Phillips, you have a banged up Phillips, that is. You have Okpara, and then you have Dubar, who's kind of playing a little bit down in there, and he can kind of step out. Post depth would be about the only glaring issue. I feel like, unless, God forbid, I don't even want to say his name to potentially put that in the atmosphere, but if you have to slide in a new point guard, that would probably be the death knell for the season as far as having national championship hopes. But anywhere else, I think Tennessee could withstand some bumps and bruises along the way. What are your thoughts on it?
I believe, I mean, Rick Barnes' best teams have always had a pretty small lineup. So that's why I was asking you if you thought there's any cause for concern. It would be really nice to have JP Estrella at the moment.
Yes.
I believe that he could have made a difference in many of the games. He's a tough kid that likes to, he likes to put his body on the line down there in the paint. I'm not sure we really have that. Para is long, lengthy, protects the rim well, but he's just not tough in my opinion. I have seen a lot of people saying we're missing Tobe Awaka. I don't believe that at all. Um, but as long as Dubar can get like fully back into shape and we can get him really a part of the rotation, I feel perfectly fine with the eight that we have. And I mean, Rick Barnes' best team basically played six. His best team, in my opinion, basically played six. So I'm not really that worried about it. But I was just asking you because I didn't know, whether or not that you thought that it could become a little bit of a problem as we get into the later part of the season and have to play some of these essentially back to back games in the tournament and stuff. Are we going to get dead legs? That's one thing that does concern me a little bit.
Personally, as far as the conference tournament goes, I would be completely fine if we just basically, I don't want to say throw the game, but
Now we
if
did
we,
last year.
yeah, that's basically what it was. And they made the Elite
That
Eight run. So,
they did not care last year. I don't care to win that conference tournament. I never have. And I mean, it was nice to win it the year we did, but
yeah,
I do not care to win. I don't care to win a single game. Now, if you're in the double bye and you win a couple games and you're in the championship game, and it is what it is, but the SEC puts themselves behind the ball every single year, playing their daggum conference tournament game on a Sunday. And then right after it's over, we get selection Sunday. And then you could possibly, even if you win the dang thing, you're slotted into a Thursday game. Like, it's just not good. I don't like it. And I hate that tournament. And I'm with you. Throw it. I don't care. I don't want to
nope,
win any games in that tournament.
I agree. And just speaking on the Georgia game, before we transition to Vanderbilt, has a metrics currently favors Tennessee to win 76 to 70. I mean, 67, excuse me, 67 to 60. I I don't know how I feel about the game being in the 60s. I feel like that's probably another game that Tennessee has struggled offensively. Of course, if they're in the 60s, I'd like to be in the mid 70s, but other than that, I would have no gripes. Moving on to Saturday, when Tennessee travels down to Nashville in what may be the weirdest gym in the country. Vanderbilt hasn't really played anybody, and they haven't really beaten anybody of note this season so far. Mark Billington, he's a pretty good coach from James Madison University. That's about all I've got, honestly, on Vanderbilt. Levi, what do you have?
The stadium is another house of horrors. That's the problem. Is it's another arena that's just a house of horrors. Dallas. You go play at the O Dome and have your worst game of the season. So, I I don't know what to expect, to be honest. I wish that I could sit and give you a really, really good breakdown, but it feels like any time that Tennessee goes plays in Memorial. I don't know if you've ever been. It's essentially like going to an opera house where they decided to build a basketball court in the middle of it. I sometimes expect Abraham Lincoln to be sitting up there with me when I'm sitting up top. So if that tells you anything, I
Personally, I want to be as far away from Abraham Lincoln in a theater as possible.
well, it's basically what it is. It's basically a theater or an opera house. They decided that they were gonna build a basketball court right in the middle. But I'm with you. Other than Drake's the only team that really, other than Mississippi State, that Vanderbilt's played all year. If you look at their schedule, it's almost looking like they have a Pac-12 schedule, and that conference does not even exist anymore. So they haven't played anybody. I expect us to be better than Vanderbilt, regardless of the fact that Rick Barnes will be 94 feet away from the offense when we're running it. The fact that the benches are behind the arena is just, or I'm sorry, not the arena, the goals is just ridiculous to me. I'm just glad they finally put them on the ground because back in the day when we used to go growing up, they would hang from the ceiling and they'd hang from this ceiling, and they'd be like 70-foot poles, like with wires holding them. And it's like, no wonder nobody can shoot the ball here. But every time Tennessee goes to play there, it's just never script. It's never chalk. We may be the better team, and we find a way to make it close, or Julian Phillips decides not to dunk a ball and gets fouled and misses free throws, and they
Oh
hit a game winner.
goodness.
So I there's no need for us to even really, like, I can't give you like a this is how Tennessee can win this game, because
Yeah, same.
in that arena, it doesn't matter when it's Tennessee. So we fill out 60% of the arena, and it's almost a home crowd most of the time, and it still just never goes as it should. But I believe Tennessee can win, and I'm never going to say once again, can they match our physicality, because Florida matched that pretty well, and the refs let them. So I still, what are your thoughts on that dribble drive that Chaz Lanier had, where he basically got raked across the face, and they called the ball off on Chaz Lanier, and it's been a picture that's posted on X, Elon, multiple times, and it's just I don't know. We recruited a guy, the transfer from Washington State, can't remember his name, but it's just him staring at Lanier as he's like laying there. But I mean, he clearly fouled him. I just want to know your thoughts on the beginning of that game. I'm not to get back to that, but
Well,
they
from
they they allowed Florida to play bully ball with us, and we weren't allowed to play it back, in my opinion.
I agree. That particular foul you're mentioning, that's a foul that when it happened and they didn't call it, I said, if that happens in a prison basketball game, you're getting shanked. You can't
Exactly.
do that. I mean, that's a foul call on 99.9% of basketball, organized and even street ball. I mean, that's I don't. It was inexplicable why a whistle was not blown there. And then on the other end, Tennessee could basically just put an elbow into someone just lightly in the post, and it would be a foul. And there was even I think there was a flagrant foul called in Tennessee at one point during the game, but it was just horrible, horrible all around.
Yeah, I mean, the shooting it wouldn't have mattered. It doesn't matter. I don't, and I'm sorry that we're tracking back here, but it wouldn't have mattered. But the refs allowed, and the same thing happened with Texas as well. They got to keep these dudes off the court. There's no reason that the other team is allowed to be just all over the place on the court. Like,
I
we
agree.
turn the ball over, and it feels like their entire bench is like at half court, basically partying. They're throwing a party. So these refs got to do a better job. But we had Pat Adams Saturday, so I didn't really expect a whole lot from that.
Yeah, hopefully we get a pretty decent crew on Wednesday night. I don't know if they've announced the officials yet or not. I usually check that the night before. But anyway,
That's about when they announce it.
yeah, let's
So
move on to our hardly known hoopers, Levi. I'm gonna let you go first because I feel like you're gonna have a good
no,
one.
no, no. Not after what you text me. Not after what you text me. I need to know right now who your hardly known hooper is.
Okay. Well, have you heard, Levi, of Connors State College?
No, not once in my life, honestly.
It is a junior college, and you can only
Oh, this is
watch.
the guy that's going to Auburn, huh?
No, I don't know if he's going to Auburn or not. No, this is not the guy. No, I saw that, but this is not the guy. Uh, you watch their games on Facebook. They go live in one of the. I'm not going to disparage the gym, but there's about 12 people that watch the games every time they go live on Facebook, and there's maybe about 12 people in the stands. My hardly known hooper is Edwin Daniel. He's averaging right now 13 points, 58% from the field, and this is what really caught my eye: 15.1 rebounds per game at 6'7". He's a physical guy to be 6'7". Kind of reminds me of Grant Williams at times watching him play. He's not as versatile as Grant was, 2.3 assists per game, but he hasn't even shot a three this season. But watching him play, it,
It's a Grant
it
Williams guy right there.
Grant Williams, it's who it reminded me of. And I was like, this guy has to be my hardly known hooper. Because I mean, who in the world has heard of Connors State College? I mean, it's hardly known. And it was perfect. So after I get back from rehab, I look forward to finding my next guy.
I should have called the cops on you.
All right, Levi, who is your hardly known hooper of the week?
I got Max Shulga from VCU. Nobody really gets to check out VCU games. I do from time. I don't know what it is, Dallas. I'm kind of a big VCU guy. I don't know if it stems back to just back in the day. They used to be just a really, really good coached basketball team. But Max Shulga, shooter, really. If you see this guy shoot or get close to the rim, then you probably need to turn the game off because the other team's just not defending. He's kind of a Kobe Bryant type guy. He stretches the floor, but he shoots it very, very well. 42% from three on the year, and his just true shooting percentage is through the roof, and he also can pass the ball like Magic Johnson. If anybody that's listening wants to go check out some Max Shulga highlights, because this guy has some Magic level passes to where like he'll be leading the break and it's like a heavy head fake and then the ball just zips the other way. So it's really fun to watch him play. He's a senior, which I do it every week, Dallas. So I'm going to do it again. I'd love to see him in orange, but yeah, he's a heck of a guy to watch play basketball. He shoots it so well. He's also got like that Klay Thompson like release where it's just kind of like, oh, that's going in,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I love a guy that when they shoot the ball, it's just like it's pretty to watch because nowadays not a whole lot of guys have a nice shooting stroke anymore. It's an athleticism game. So he's really fun to watch. I don't know if you've watched any of them at all this year at all, Dallas, but
I've
I
had a
think you should
VCU
definitely check it
game
out.
in the background, but I didn't really pay much attention to it. It was during the holiday tournaments, I believe.
Yeah, that's when I picked him up. I saw him make this pass where his big got the rebound. They kicked it to him on the break, and he came down and he kind of hit like I said, one of those like head fakes, and then like threw it like almost like around his head to his big man that passed it to him for the dunk. And I was like, yeah, I'm putting him down in my notes as one of my future hardly known hoopers.
So you've got guys on notes, and I'm digging through junior college film. That sounds great.
This is what we do, man. This is
It's what we do.
That's the whole point, right?
I feel like John Rothstein. All right, moving on to our NCAA pick'em. Let me grab the updated standings real quick. Levi, you went 3-1 on the week. I was not so lucky. I went 1-3.
What is the records now? I'm sorry, you
I'm
haven't posted them. I think you're scared.
they are going up as soon as we get done here. I am currently 9-11, which is a bad juju, I think. And Levi, you are currently 12-8.
Whew.
Yep,
Ever since you didn't rig it, ever since you've not rigged it, Dallas, I've been on a heater.
yep, it's been a trial of horrors for me. Let's go through our games here real quick. We have Texas A&M at Kentucky. I'm going with Kentucky because every time I pick against them, they win. If I pick them and they lose, I'm perfectly fine taking the L there. So I'm going with Kentucky.
You want to know who I'm picking?
Hopefully Texas A&M because I need some wins.
You already know I'm taking Texas A&M.
Let's go. All right, moving on. We have Kansas at Iowa State. I'm taking my guy, TJ. Not even gonna say his last name. I'm
Who's
taking.
Minnesota?
I'm going with the Cyclones. Levi, who do you have?
Yeah, I'll take Iowa State in that one as well. Too tough defensively.
Yep. And now we have the Red River Shootout. I refuse to call it the Red River rivalry due to the fact that it's stupid. We can't call it the Red River Shootout. I'm taking the Sooners. Levi, who do you have?
I like Texas, actually. I like Texas in that game. I know that Oklahoma has started the conference play over, but I like Texas. That Texas team is impressive. If their coach doesn't sit the best player on the floor that night for 8 minutes in the second half, they probably end up running away with it. So I'll take Texas in that one.
I think that's a really good pick. And once again, Bama at Kentucky. I seem to really like Kentucky this week. I'm rolling with Kentucky. And once again, if they lose, I'm perfectly fine with taking the L because that means I am happy. Levi, who do you have?
So this is one where Dallas, to be honest with you, I have no clue. You texted me this earlier today, and I was
It
doing
was
a little
yesterday.
research.
Don't lie to the people.
Well, yesterday, since you've not been rigging it as bad as you were for a while. But I looked into this one for a bit, and I truly just I do not know. I don't, because Kentucky's the type of team that wants to get in a shootout. Alabama's the type of team that wants to get in a shootout. So it's at Kentucky, correct?
Yes, at Kentucky.
I'll take Kentucky in that one, only because it's at Kentucky. But I mean, I could see Sears and those guys getting really hot. You're from Kentucky, so can I switch my pick?
Yes,
I'm gonna
yes, you
take
can.
Alabama. I'm gonna
Go
take
for it.
Alabama
Go
only
for it.
because of the fact that you're from Kentucky. Now I know you're somewhat of a closet Kentucky fan, so
I will go to my deathbed hating that university with every fiber of my being.
uh, can I ask you a question real quick?
Yes.
What is your prediction for Georgia and Vanderbilt? Do you think Tennessee goes 2-0 this week?
Yes, I do think Tennessee goes 2-0 this week. What about you?
I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. Yeah.
Sounds good. All right, I guess we'll wrap up this episode of Beyond the Arc. I'm not even sure if I even said what podcast we were. Yeah, I did. Okay. When we started, but this wraps up this episode of the Beyond the Arc podcast. We will be back shortly in a week. So thanks for listening and go Vols.